Interview for you if you're deciding on this Monday morning to call in sick. You're well, but you're calling in sick. All right, listen up. Absenteeism. It's a major reason for South Africa slipping down the global competitiveness ranking with, listen to this, a 500% increase in sick leave since 2011, suggesting some employees take a sick day when suffering only a minor ailment, like you stubbed your toe or something, and days off without even actually being ill. As if this is not enough, another growing trend is presentees. This is a new word, presenteeism, I beg your pardon. People who show up for work but are not productive because they actually dislike what they do immensely and are not motivated. All right, now joining us now in studio is Penny Abbott. She is the head of HR Initiative at the SA Board for People Practices. Good to have you, Penny. Welcome to Morning Live.
Thank you.
All right, so this interview is for those people thinking of staying home today. How detrimental is it being absent from work? What does it actually do when we talk about what it's doing to South Africa's economy?
Well, it does depend on the sort of work you're doing. I would imagine if you were not present this morning, there would be a bit of a problem.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're a creative designer somewhere and maybe has been working all weekend, you know, the hours of work are not necessarily the most important thing. If you're on a production line, clearly it's important, so it depends.
Yeah, all right. Well, let's talk about these figures that are coming out here. We're saying that there's been a 500% increase since 2001. I can imagine that's quite a grave situation for South Africa.
Well, there really are no good figures, I would say. The research, the benchmarking in South Africa is not that good. So you get different studies from time to time, and then they compare one to the other. So I wouldn't necessarily say there's been that huge increase since 2001. And it does depend how you measure it. And you need to define what you're trying to measure, which is also different studies use different measurements.
Yeah. What would you say is the main cause? Why such a high increase?
Probably it's sick absence mainly, and it's due to chronic illnesses in the workplace. So the rise in diabetes, the rise in high blood pressure, HIV/AIDS, probably more to a minor extent. You know, those sort of the sicknesses of modern life are causing people to use their sick leave more and more.
Okay, so I mean, but you're talking about legitimate reasons that people are staying home.
Yes.
So I mean, that when we look at these figures, it's actually legitimate reasons. It's not necessarily, oh, I really don't want to go to the office today. I'm gonna, you know, I'm just gonna phone in sick. So you mean people are really getting. You're finding that there's more illness in South Africa, and hence this is leading to people being absent from work.
Yes, organisations are finding that the degree of non-wellness, if you like, in the workplace is increasing. But equally, I mean, it is unauthorised absence, which is not sickness.
Yeah.
Which
especially
arises,
on a Friday.
Especially on a Friday.
Yeah, Fridays seem to be, I don't know, you sort of from Monday you start feeling a sore throat coming on for Friday.
But, I mean, it's also due to family problems, all those sort of things, and working mothers, having to bury people over the weekend, those sort of things all cause unauthorised absence. So it's very hard to generalise. You've got to really study it.
Yeah. All right, let's talk about presenteeism. I mean, it was one of the first times I've seen this, and just to remind viewers, presenteeism is pitching up at work, but actually just hating being there so you don't do anything. This is quite prevalent.
Yes, it's related to something we call employee engagement, where, you know, to what extent are people really wanting to make a difference at work? Are they really enjoying their work? And studies do find that the rather large percentage of people are either not engaged or actively disengaged, so they don't want to be there.
Yeah. I mean, you also find, I mean, something here at the SABC is, you know, you've got your permanent workers and your contract workers. So
that's a good point.
You know, that's a big thing. So you're going to find your contract workers, no work, no pay, but your permanent staff, well, you know, I'm entitled to sick leave. Is there a difference in productivity from your permanent workers and your contract workers? Have you noticed something like that?
Not necessarily. Sorry, excuse me. It depends on the sort of work again. It depends on the type of contract. It's hard to generalise, but equally, I mean, if you've got no security of employment, you've got an uninteresting job, it must be quite hard to turn up for work sometimes.
Yeah. I mean, just finally, I mean, you must get some companies where you'll find that, you know, it must be a nice way of judging how it is to work for a company, where you'll take a company like Google, and I'm having a look here. They've got such innovative ways.
Yes.
I mean, you've got
you slide down tubes to the coffee bar
exactly.
and things.
You bring your laundry to work. You've got 3 free meals a day. I can't imagine there's such a high absenteeism rate at Google, is there?
Well, I doubt they even measure it, because they probably measure output.
Yeah.
So that's much more interesting to an employer, is really to measure the output, not the
yeah.
input. But I mean, there's good companies in South Africa whose staff love them, and so that they would probably equal Google.
Yeah, I'd like to see that, actually. Productivity and companies. Which are the good companies to work for in terms of productivity? Penny, thanks for chatting to us. Thank you very, very much for being our guest. Penny Abbott, Head of HR Initiative, SA Board for People Practices here in South Africa.